France's secret weapon against African leaders was the pillow talk technique a recent French documentary revealed. It showed how France used sleepover spies not to count sheep, but to snuggle, seduce, erect, and extract juicy information to influence its foreign policies, especially in Africa. These spies were not ordinary women, but highly trained and sophisticated women who understood the assignment. They worked under the leadership of a woman known as Madame Claude, the most powerful and notorious madame in France at the time. But who was Madame Claude? Let's get our fingers dirty. This madame was born in France in 1923 and she claimed to have joined the resistance during the Nazi occupation of France, but some sources suggest that she was in bed with the Germans. After the war, she moved to Paris and started the business of offering the services of beautiful and cultured women whom she called swans to wealthy and influential men. Basically, this woman was running a global high-class brothel, not with swans, but with vulture, preying on the weak and powerful men in search of someone to stroke their ego. She had a roster of beautiful women who could make any man spill his secrets and his seed. Her clients included actors, businessmen, royalty from all over the world. Some of the names that have been linked to her are G.F. Kennedy, the Shah of Iran, Charles de Gaulle, and many others. She was also friend with Coco Chanel, Salvatore Dali, and Truman Capote. By the way, Capote means in French condom. What a happy coincidence. A match made in heaven on the seventh. It's safe to say that it is better to have Capote's friendship in your back pocket and not need it than need it and not have it. Anyways, Madame Claude was not just a pimp, but also a master of manipulation and blackmail. She had a strict selection process and trained the recruits in etiquette, languages, and art. She also collected secret information from her clients, which she used to blackmail them or to cooperate with the police or, her government. She amassed fortune. She amassed fortune. She was the most powerful madam in France, and she had more connections than the Atlantic. She worked with the French Secret Service, which used some of her staff as agents to infiltrate and influence foreign governments, especially in Africa. In other words, she was in bed with diplomacy, literally and figuratively. Madame Claude's empire began crumbling in the late 70s when she was arrested and charged with tax evasion and pimping. She fled to the United States where she lived for over a decade. She returned to France in 1986 and served a 4 month prison sentence. Then she lived a secluded life in Nice until her death in 2015 at the age of 92. She was the subject of several books, documentaries, and film. A biopic titled Madame Claude was released on Netflix in 2021, but no chill. But back to African leaders and politicians. Chad's first president, Francois Tombalbaye, also known as Nkarta Tombalbaye, had a rocky relationship with France, which was the former colonial power in Chad. Although they initially worked together in harmony after Chad's independence in 1960, he gradually became more hostile and defiant toward his former ally and colonizer. He had several reasons for this change of attitude. One, he wanted to assert his authority and autonomy by replacing French civil servants with Chadians, mostly from his ethnic group. This provoked the resentment of the French who felt like they were losing their influence and interest in Chad. Two, he accused France of meddling in African affairs, not new, and supporting secessionist movements such as the Biafra War in Nigeria. He denounced France's neocolonial ambition and sought to distance himself from its policies. Three, he diversified his foreign policy and sought support from other countries such as Libya, China, and the United States. He aimed to cut ties with France and pursue more independent and nationalist course of his country. Four, he faced growing opposition and unrest within his own country, especially from Muslim majority in the north who felt marginalized and oppressed by his southern dominated regime. He also became increasingly authoritarian and repressive. banning all political parties except his own, abolishing the constitution and imposing a single party system. He confronted several rebellion and coup attempts from various factions, some which were backed by France or Libya. You see, these factors contributed to the deterioration of Chad and France relations under President Tobalbai. However, his downfall was not only caused by external pressure, but by also his own mistakes. For example, this one. President Tombalbaye slipped up in muddy waters and told the French honey trap who worked for Madame Claude his plans about ditching France and striking deals with other partners, not knowing he was pillow talking with a spy who would share that confidential information with our government. Naturally, this information reached France, but Paris did not find President Tombalbaye's intentions arousing. What we've come to learn in recent years is that Paris doesn't like to be ghosted or told to leave an African country it once colonized. It's like um, it's like a toxic. It's like France has an attachment issues. Even if the relationship is toxic, with them being the toxic party, they just want it to continue so that they can keep on rising and have easy access to penetrate our natural resources. Anyways, with the spies' blessings to our government, it was only a matter of time for something to happen. So on April 13, 1975, President Tombalbaye didn't just lose power in a coup, he also lost his life falling for a flat nyash. According to reports, he was shot dead by rebel soldiers who stormed his palace. Some say it was a coincidence, others say it was a conspiracy. Either way, France got rid of a thorn on its side and gained a new ally in Chad. You see, the French elite would bend over to keep the tip of Africa in its wide sphere. That's why Africa is always all over their mouth. They would do anything to maintain their influence and interest on the continent, even if it means using pillow talk techniques as a weapon. They would not hesitate to send their agents of seduction to charm and disarm their targets, to make them soft and vulnerable, to make them come to their senses or come to their knees. I don't want to rub it in your face, but according to one of the most famous book of imaginary stories out there, Delilah's and Eve's sloppy mouth made hard men come to their demise. The moral of the story is, to all my brother, don't fall for Nyash.
We, ni nini?